"My mother has just married your father," Reg announced. It was late April 1967, 3 weeks to the final examinations for my law degree at Leeds University. I'd had a great time. It was the 60s. But as my day of judgment approached, I was, temporarily, regretting that I'd spent too much time on student politics, trying to impress women and generally enjoying myself, and not enough on my studies. The Parkinson Building on Woodhouse Lane is the most imposing building at Leeds University, and it sits at the top of a hill half a mile north of the city centre. For me, it was not only imposing, but intimidating. Its dominant presence a constant reproach that I should have spent my time there, in the library, rather than 100 yards away in the Student Union building. As I climbed the stone steps to the front entrance, my mind was on the finer points of the law of contract when I saw Reg Grattan approach. Reg had been editor of Union News, the well-produced and popular student newspaper. As a student politician anxious for good coverage, I knew him, although he wasn't a close friend. We occasionally had a drink together, but nothing more. "Hi, Jack," he greeted me. I mumbled a "good morning" in reply, and we passed. I was some paces towards the doors to the library itself, when I heard a tentative, then an imperative. Jack, there's something I've been meaning to tell you." "What's that, Reg?" I asked, thinking that he might be about to impart some inner detail of the running of Union News, or gossip about some adversary. "There's something I've got to tell you." "Tell me, Reg, please." There was a long pause. Then he told me that his mother had just married my father. My parents had parted when I was 10. I was now 20. I had not seen or heard of my father in the intervening decade, except via reports from my mother complaining about the late arrival of the required maintenance payments. These were 17 shillings and sixpence, 87.5p, for each of their 5 children, due in cash in a registered envelope every other Tuesday. I knew from this that my father was still alive, but nothing more. "We'd better go and have a coffee," I suggested. In a cafe across the road from the library, the story unfolded. Reg had been sending home copies of Union News. His proud mother had been showing them to her husband. He'd noticed reports about a Jack Straw, and had gradually worked out that this young man was his son. Through Reg, I remade contact with my father. So did my siblings. We were all reconciled by the time of his death in March 2002. My father, Walter Arthur Whittaker Straw, was born in March 1917 in the pit village of Worsbrodale, just outside Barnsley in South Yorkshire. His father was a railway carpenter, his mother the local midwife. When he was 2 years old, his father died in the great flu epidemic that killed even more people than had lost their lives in the First World War. 2 of his sisters died shortly after, leaving him in the care of his mother, ground down and ill-tempered, and his elder sister Dorothy, whom he claimed was continuously unpleasant towards him. My father was a bright child, and in 1928 won a scholarship to the Barnsley and District Holgate Grammar School. But in 1930, when he was 13, his mother made a decision that, though taken for the best of reasons, was to mar the rest of his life. She'd had enough of the grime, deprivation and choking atmosphere of a pit village, and took a post as a district midwife in Woodford Green, Essex, on the edge of East London. Woodford Green was, and still is, a pleasant, leafy suburb, close to Epping Forest, staunchly conservative in outlook. Winston Churchill was the area's Member of Parliament from 1924 until he stood down in the 1964 general election. Arthur, as he was always known, transferred to nearby Wanstead County High School. He said, in the graphic terms he always used, that for quality of life, moving south was the difference between heaven and hell. The 1929 slump had wreaked devastation on the industrial and mining areas of the north, but the south had largely escaped its impact. However, class and accent mattered much more than today, and my father had a rasping South Yorkshire accent, which he never lost.